Welcome to UniverSoul Women. I am Sherryl Lin.
And I'm Julie Krull, and we are coming together to ignite radical cultural change.
We're so excited to have you join us. Today we're going to talk about a little bit about how we even got this idea and how we got started and our connection. Julie and I have been connected for quite a while, but we've kind of danced around and gone in and out of our connection. And we came back together just with this deep calling personally, but also to join forces together to bring this UniverSoul Women forward. So, how did we start this, Julie?
I'm glad that we're having this show. We're going to be, literally tune in. The topics are going to be fun. The topics are going to be edgy. The topics are going to be relevant. The topics are going to be very present moment, emergent, and evolutionary edge at times. And, igniting radical cultural change is a big topic. But how we began is an important topic to talk about too, because it's kind of like the evolution of the feminine. And we've kind of been riding this wave. We've been each growing and expanding as individuals. And it reminds me that everyone watching right now, as we have this conversation, we've all been through this journey. And what I heard was, and the moment is now. And the moment is now. So we met back in probably 2010. I know it was 2010. Online, taking a class together. We met back then. And we connected. There was this instant, deep recognition of each other. And I'm just going to say, even as UniverSoul Women and as UniverSoul soulmates, it was it was home. We were there. It was like this visceral thing. So we began online and connected that way. And we're in this class and sharing. And it was quite obvious with this class because we were called on to share our interest, our passion as we were growing. And we had so much in common. We literally had so much in common. So that's how we met. And then what, Sherryl?
And then we got to meet in person. We both got invited to this women's conference in Florida. And the woman who was putting on the conference invited us to actually stay with her. And that was Lori Raymond. And we stayed and we went to the conference. The conference was wonderful, but the highlight was, I think wasn't it our last night? Or we were there for just one night or maybe two. But our last night, I just remember us staying up until all night. We didn't want to stop talking. We kept talking about and kept having these visions of similar things. We kept seeing these. I remember it was a big thing. We both had visions of these circles of 12 with one in the center, and that we both had the same vision. Remember that?
Yeah. When you say that, I forget about that.
And what does that mean that we were having the same vision? And we started just talking about what we could do together, how we could collaborate. So that was an exciting night, and what evolved from it was really cool. Our tour that we did. So I don't know if you want to say what our tour was. That was awesome.
That was awesome. So I just want to go back to that night, staying up all night long. It was we were just. It was really awesome. So. Then we were called to work together. And I remember, I'm just going to say this because I think this is a part of our women's journey, but I remember getting so excited. I'm like, oh, Sherryl, we could do this. And you'd be like, no, they're already doing that. And I'd be, Sherryl, we could do this. Or Sherryl, have you seen this? Or Sherryl, oh my gosh, we got to do it. And you'd be like, yeah, they're already doing that. Or that's so old already. You literally, I don't know how many times it's Julie's trying to create, Sherryl, let's do this. And I'm in my naive state of not even knowing that already exists, So I'm sitting there creating and you're going, no, that's not it. No, that's not it. Do you remember that?
No, but I'm sure you felt horrible.
You know what? It was good. It was like this discernment process, you know, because I get my creativity goes. Ask anybody that really knows me, and it's like the creative juices go, and I'm like, wow, we got to do it. Act on it right now. And literally, since that time, I've come to know myself so much better, and that impulse of creation that moves constantly, that I know now what's mine to do and what's not mine to do most of the time, but I'm settling into that. So it really wasn't, it wasn't a bad thing, and you don't have to apologize. It wasn't devastating, but you were brilliant in keeping us on that evolutionary edge. You were keeping us on what's new and fresh. I remember so often us going, that's old already. That's just old. That's old. That's old. Do you remember that?
I do. And now that you're saying it, one of the things that's evolved in me since that happened was that I used to be much more of a, naysayer. And because when you're saying that, I was thinking, oh yeah, I kind of was like that, where I'd be like, I don't know, and now I'm like, well, maybe let's try it. I feel like I'm much more like that most of the time now. So that's a big shift since that time. But yeah, no, I was always, for a long time, I've always wanted to be on that leading edge. Like, what's the next, like, or what's not even like fully formed yet that we can like tap into and grow from there. That's always been really exciting to kind of think about that.
I think that's an important part of us coming together right now too, because it's what we really share. We really share this deep embodied sense of that evolutionary edge and that bigger picture of the evolution that's happening, to not just do the edgy that's already here, but to really look beyond the edge into the unknown and like bringing that forward. We both really share a deep love and joy of kind of like just, I don't know, being in that space together, like imagining in that, becoming imaginal souls ourselves of like, what is this? What is this? What's the next? Let's bring it forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't even know how I would introduce our road trip. I will definitely engage in about it, but how did we even begin?
I don't know. I remember feeling like there was something about us going and being with women, like being out, like you were living in Nebraska, I was living in Phoenix, but like we both had this thing about traveling together to do something. And I'm not sure how the filming part came in. I mean, when I think about the video camera that we had, I bought a new video camera, which now, like, my phone is like 10 times better than that video camera. We kind of were thinking that we would go to different places and film women doing amazing things, doing things that were changing the world, or like that was like the beginning of it. But then we also had these groups of women who we met through Facebook, through social media, that we didn't even know, that hosted us all over the place in their homes, and they invited their friends. And we had these groups as well where we did do some filming, but we also talked to them and just, what is up? What is your heart calling you to right now? So it was a very interesting, I don't remember exactly how we decided on the format, but that was kind of at least the beginnings of the evolution of how it happened.
Yeah, I don't remember creating that format, so maybe that format created us and called us together, because I don't remember us, like, all the times I was going, we should do this, we should do that, how about this? And you'd be going, no. I remember those ideas, network of networks, let's do, a large data, but I don't remember how the road trip came. I think it tapped us on the shoulder and said, come do this. So we did this road trip together. and we were on the road for a while, and we went to the East Coast, the West Coast, North, South. We did a lot, and we were, for most of it, we were in my little Prius driving across the country. And I still, to this day, feel so much gratitude for all those women who opened their homes, invited their friends, let us sleep in their homes, took care of us, and also those incredible women who shared their stories. We met some really amazing women, and we have that footage of those women, and one dear woman has passed since then, and that interview was so touching. So we learned so much, and I still have deep gratitude for all those women and that experience. It was really beautiful.
It's so funny when I think about, we really didn't know what we were doing. And on so many levels, we just were following guidance. It was probably one of the more profound times in my life where I just went with the flow. And we were blessed, at least I remember in the beginning, my then husband was a little skeptical about me going out on the, and your husband was like, go. And then it kind of flipped. And, my husband was like, yeah, go for it. And your husband was kind of like, how long are you going to be away?
Coming home.
So we had that personal thing that we had to deal with, the fact that we were out on the road and we both had families and, people that were,
So this brings me to a really important point of that road trip.
Yeah.
This conversation was a really important part of that time in our lives. Is with that video camera, we weren't only turning it on and talking to women about the amazing things they did. I'm thinking about Terry up in Detroit, like amazing women that I hope we can introduce you to on future shows. But we turned on the video camera as we were driving down the road. And we had that. It was way before Facebook Live. So we were like doing Facebook Lives kind of before it happened, where we were literally had the camera turned on, had these incredible conversations, posted it, and the people were engaging with us and having communication. We were talking about really serious topics, what's going on in the world, and we were talking about our hair and our husbands. It was like that was the beginning of this show. That was really the roots of what brought us together. Is those conversations were fascinating and fun and engaging and big. And yeah.
And it's funny, as we were talking about earlier, that, we were limited by the fact that we were in a car, so we weren't flying, all over the world. We were in the United States. We could have gone to Canada probably, but, just time constraints. We were in the United States. There were people that were following us. We had some people in the UK and Germany and a few other countries, but for the most part, it was in North America. And so that was really a national women kind of thing. That was the focus. Were like us in that the geographically. And then, but this, what it's moved into with this new format with UniverSoul Women, we both, since that road trip, have developed connections across the planet and are much more universally connected. And so it's kind of been a natural, okay, now we're going to do this. And it's going to have a much broader reach because we have a vision, like those circles that we saw, those 12 circles of 12. It's like, now those aren't just here in the United States, those are in other countries and with all sorts of different women across the world.
Yeah, so it's been 6.5 years since our tour. And in the 6.5 years, we've both been in our own worlds, doing our work. We've been friends. We've been cohorts.
I like that. Wait. You said cohorts. I love that. We're cohorts.
We're cohorts. We've been cohorts. And you've helped me through incredible times doing healing. Life's changed. You've moved. My kids are graduated. I have a grandbaby. I mean, like, we've done life over the last 6.5 years from a distance as distant friends, not face-to-face, door-to-door, next-door girlfriends. But we have had this really endearing girlfriend relationship since then, and professional, collegial, cohort kind of relationship too. So a lot has changed since then. Then 5 years ago, I started my radio show. And okay, so literally, so 5 years, my radio show, the Dr. Julie Show, All Things Connected. If I look at the archives, you are the only person that I've ever had on my show, probably more than twice. Quite literally, how many times? Because of our connection, because of that deep intrinsic unity between us, that deep felt expression of this one voice that comes through us so easily. Because of that, I've had you on so many times. So over the years, there'll be something like, oh, Sherryl, let's have a call, or I've had a guest cancel, shall we talk? But there's other times it's like, this happened in the world, we've got to talk about it. And that's what brought us together this time, is the Kavanaugh judicial hearing. So speak about that.
Oh yeah, well, so as we were talking earlier, and you reminded me that, you started having me on the show more often after the presidential election. Like, it just seemed like people were stirred up by all different ways, and the call was for us to have a conversation that people could tune into to kind of help them cope with all sorts of different feelings. And then when the Kavanaugh hearing happened, and I heard those testimonies, especially Dr. Ford's testimony, and it hit me like in the chest. And all of these memories from my own, past came up, and you as well were having, a connection to this, and you contacted me and said, what do you think about doing like 2 shows, and we talk about this, we talk about women and what's going on with women right now, and how can we move beyond like the angry, take down the patriarchy and actually make effective change. And it was and I was an immediate like, yes, we have to have this conversation. And we did, and we recorded these 2 amazing shows. And then it was obvious that we needed to keep going, and that it was time for us to come back together and actually intentionally create something that would be a platform for people to come and be able to have the conversation with us, hear us talking about it, because we have, our perspective, but also just opening up the conversation to different people's perspectives. And the fact, everything that we had gone through, from the time we met, but, the time where we weren't working together, to bring all that together. I mean, we both of us have had amazing, I'll call it upgrades to our healing abilities. And I think that that's part of it. I started working as a medical intuitive, and you started doing, a lot more with, healing deeply in kind of a, less in your psychologist, wearing your psychologist hat in a much deeper way. So I think bringing all of that has amplified in us together now is like, I'm like so excited about how that can assist, because that's really what it's about.
And as I was listening to you, I was also reminded how when we come together, we hold an important perspective, each of us individually, but it's so, like I was saying, that innate unity that's between us, that you have really been working with individuals as a medical intuitive and a healer. So working with that inner landscape. You've really turned your attention to that inner landscape, while I've been turning my attention to that outer landscape and looking at the global and how do we heal our culture? How do we heal our planet? How do we heal the consciousness and evolve consciousness on the planet? So as you began really doing that inner landscape, and then I was really focused on the outer landscape, it's almost like we just both came into this weaving of the both. It's like every time we come together, we counterbalance each other in that way that we both bring the inner and outer landscape together and weave it in a really powerful way.
Yeah, that's a yeah, that's a and now it feels like, with everything that we have, that you have done with your radio show, and how you, in your book that's just about to come out, and with the work that I've done as a medical intuitive, and just also the writing that I've done and you've done, just it feels like we're ready for like I'm going to just say it, we're ready to kick some butt. That's what it feels like, and actually move some of these things into a more action out in the world.
I think that's an important piece, and this is a good way to wrap our conversation in. What emerged after the Kavanaugh hearings and what brought us back was that fierce feminine. And so we both have played the role of the nice girl for a very long time. Yes, we've been the nice girls. And this idea of this more universal voice coming through us really was about activating that fierce feminine, really activating this, more than the mama bear of protecting her cubs, but almost the divine feminine protecting the whole planet. Like this fierce feminine comes so deep from our toes, clear up through our body, that now is the time for us to really step into this role as women together, as a collective, and understand it's kind of like, yeah, it's relevant, but it's not that. It's not like, oh, this is a relevant topic. It's really like the air we breathe kind of call. Like, it's not a relevant topic. It's not going to go away. It really is like, now is the time that we gather, come together, step into this fierce feminine. And I'm going to say one more thing. Okay, I got to share this story.
Okay.
So 3 days ago now, a male friend posted something really nice on my Facebook page. And he described me and just said, I met her and oh my gosh, this is what I think about Julie. And he used the words courage to speak, or courage to use her voice to really make a difference. Or, and then he had a couple words after it, like creating a world that's, I don't remember his words, but it doesn't matter. Courage to speak, courage to use her voice. So that was 3 days ago. And then yesterday I was on the phone with a mentor friend, beautiful, amazing elder grandmother type woman who is native from India, but's lived in the States for a very long time and is doing global, world-changing work all over the planet. She's amazing. She's an incredible resume. She's one of my mentors. And I was on the phone with her, and she said, Julie, you have the courage to use your voice. And all of a sudden it just occurred to me, like, what does that really mean? The courage to use my voice. Now, I've had the courage to use my voice in nice ways with the nice girl, right? I've had that. But what these two people were saying to me was, now is the time for you to use your courage to say those not so nice things, to get people's attention, to affect change on the planet, to call out truth, to challenge us, to challenge the authority, to challenge us, to challenge the systems that no longer serve our highest good, that don't work, that they're not working. So for me, in coming together with you and really creating this UniverSoul Women platform, it is about, I think both of us, but I'm going to speak for myself because we haven't had this conversation yet, to use that fierce feminine voice in radical ways to say enough is enough. Here we are, we're showing up, and it is time for us to be seen and heard, respected, valued, and move into that place of our greater wholeness as women on the planet.
I'm thinking about as you were speaking in this last part, I was thinking about you know, one of our earlier conversations was about having a radio show, and you didn't have the courage to speak up at that point, and you were like, I don't know. I'm like, yeah, you got a radio show, and now it's like a very popular, and it's doing amazing. Well, because that is part of, you know, why you're here on the planet, is to speak up and out, and now it's taking it to that next level. And I started thinking about one of the women that we interviewed back on our road trip, Roya, who's the one that passed away, and thinking about the courage she had to speak up as a displaced woman from Iran and having had to escape religious persecution. And I think about her and the courage that it took her to speak out and write a book and do everything that she did. And that as we move into this next phase, and for us, this next phase of our work and doing the show, to bring those voices with us and bring the courage of the women that we interviewed and the women that we never got to interview even, who were speaking up, and bring them with us to this new platform. And yeah, I'm so looking forward to having deeper conversations. And you know, when we were talking earlier about different topics that we wanted to talk about, and I mentioned the thing about edgy and being on the edge, which has always been something we've talked about, but that's what we need to be asking ourselves, like, where can we go next? Not like, well, let's try and work with this old system. And it's like, no, where can we go next? Like, how can we use our anger and our frustration and our anxiety, and actually use that energy, because it's a potent energy, and actually use it to move us forward.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
And honor our grief, and honor our grief. And wow, I'm just thinking about, you know, when we think about oppression and the generations of different racial and religious and, you know, everything that we've done on the planet and the damage we've created, there's been this great oppression of women and the woman's voice. And so let's hold and honor the grief, not go into it and get stuck in it, but really like honor it as we bring this new energy forward to really co-create the change, to be that leader, and to empower and inspire and ignite. And also to really come from this universal place so that everyone can relate to it. Men and women, the show just isn't for women, but what we're really looking at is recreating balance again and bringing this into every aspect of life, our relationships, our vocational expression, every aspect of life. Yeah. There's one more thing, and then I'm going to ask you a favor. There's one more thing. So the other thing is that there are amazing women on the planet doing amazing things right now. There's men who are very mindful of the masculine, feminine, and have that fierce feminine within them, and they're bringing through things. And there are a lot of incredible initiatives, organizations, individuals who are already in form doing the work and creating the new systems and structures. So I hope that we can bring some of that hope through too, because that's what I've been passionate about the last 7 years. Mm-hmm. And I just want to presence that and ask you, I'm going to put you on the spot, but hopefully we'll have this every time we gather, if you would just do a little energetic attunement for us to really hold this universal platform from the perspective of our wholeness and our soul's yearning for that newness, that edge, that evolution. And let's just close our show with a little energetic attunement of that.
Sure. Okay. Just close your eyes right now and just breathe into your heart center. Take a few deep breaths. Just hadn't been really present, if you've been listening and not really in your body, just take a moment to stop whatever you're doing and just be really right here, right now. Now, as we've had this conversation, there is a piece for you in this. And right now, right here, right now, just feel in your physical body, all of your cells, every particle of your being kind of perking up and listening to this conversation. Like, oh, she's paying attention to me, or he's paying attention to me. And as you're tuning into this connection that you have with your own being, all of these cells, and see how everything is working so perfectly within your own being, within your own body. And just now see how you, in your little sphere of you-ness, right here, right now, you are connected to everything and all of these other beings that have their own little spheres all across the planet right now. Each of us, an integral part of making up the entire planet. And knowing that even as your spirit eventually will leave your physical body, all of the particles that make up you, your physicalness, will then be again and always and forever part of this earth's place as you no longer inhabit your physical body. So your eternalness, your eternal being, connecting that with right now, and just knowing that you are not just taking up space, that you are here, an integral part of the whole. And just give yourself a little thank you for your participation. You can open your eyes. Just so glad to have you here. So glad to have you here, Julie.
I'm glad to have you here, and I am glad to have the listeners here. And I just want to remind you that you can find out so much more in the information below this video, how to find us, how to find other archives. And we want to do this with you. So you have suggestions, you have topics, you have questions. We're going to be evolving into more of your questions and bringing them in. And so please leave us your response, leave us your feedback, be with us, and we'll all do this together. So for now, I think that's a wrap, Cheryl. What do you think?
I say it's a wrap. Thank you.
All right. Bye for now.
Bye.
Mm.